Over the last few years, I've used Microsoft Clarity Heatmaps on almost every single optimization project I've worked on. I've set up well over 30 accounts in my time, and it's kind of this like secret weapon that we use. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Microsoft Clarity Heatmaps, like a 101 of it. We're going to go through what are heatmaps, why you should use them, how you can set them up, Microsoft Clarity in particular in the UI. We're going to go over heat map analysis briefly, and then I'm going to show you a live Clarity demo. So I'll share my screen and take you through it so you can be as informed as possible. So first, let's start off with what are heat maps. So it's a visual tool which shows you where visitors interact most on a page. And I love this definition. If you look at this image down here, it shows you what I'm talking about. And it just basically puts out hotspots on a page, kind of. So is this button a hotspot because it gets a lot of interaction to people? People are clicking on it. What sections are most popular? So what sections do people scroll to and then stop there and read information, right? What content do people like and enjoy and it's clickable and it's engaging with them? And what content don't they enjoy? And it puts it into a visual image map, as you can see in the screenshot here. So red is the most clicked, that red is a hotspot, and then going out the blue and the yellow are the less they get less clicks or less attention. So the top 3 heat map tools in the Shopify or e-com space is Microsoft Clarity, heatmap.com, and Hotjar. So these two, Clarity and Hotjar, have been around for longer. I think heatmap's kind of the new kid on the block. It's got a few cool features, to be honest, but my personal favorite is Microsoft Clarity, and I think the amount of value it provides for being a free tool is just unrivaled. And I think the filters are just really, really good. So that's why I recommend Clarity, but feel free to explore some of the other options. So why should you use heat maps? So one of the best benefits is optimizing content placement. So a really easy example most people will go to is, for example, a collection page or FAQs. So this is where you have lists of elements. So for example, FAQs, you might have 6 different FAQs. If you look at heat maps, it can tell you which questions people want the answers to most, because the ones that they open first are the ones that get the most clicks. And then from that, you can take that data or point, and then place it correctly, so you make sure the ones that get the most clicks are placed at the top. But then also you can take that, and this leads into point 2, to understand what problems users are having on the website. So if they're looking at this particular FAQ, you've got to ask yourself, why do they want the answer to this question? Have we not explained this well enough on the website? Does this seem to be a major concern or roadblock that stops people from purchasing or moving down in the funnel? So that's a really good use case for heat maps. The other thing is understanding user behavior. And I really encourage you, if you're someone who's into optimizing websites, or if you're someone who has an e-commerce brand, to spend a lot of time watching some heat maps in terms of screen recordings and also heat maps. It will give you a really good understanding of how visitors use the web. Because I think a lot of people have this idea of how visitors use the web, but then when you look at heat maps, it gives you a very different story. And understanding user behavior is really helpful in terms of optimizing websites. The other thing is finding UX problems quickly. So this is a really easy one. So if you have a button that gets a ton of clicks, so you always want to go and double check, does that button work? If you have an image that gets a ton of clicks, you want to check, is that image clickable? If you have a load of people rage clicking or quickbacks, so a quickback is when they go to a page and then they quickly leave. So if you have a load of people going to a page and they quickly bounce out of it, is there a problem on that page, right? And then it's also a little bit faster than watching screen recordings. So screen recordings are a little bit more time consuming, still valuable, but it's time consuming. So heat maps are a good alternative to that. So how do you set up Microsoft Clarity heat maps in particular? So it's really simple. Actually, you just go to Microsoft Clarity, create an account. It takes 1 minute, and then you install this tracking code. It looks something like this on your website. You can either do this by literally just copying the code and placing it inside of your Shopify theme. I've made a video for this, so you can see it somewhere on the screen. And then the second option is using the Microsoft Clarity Shopify app. So if you go to the Shopify App Store, install Microsoft Clarity, you can do the exact same thing there. Whatever you prefer, doesn't make a difference. If you want to get the most out of the setup, I'd also recommend doing the additional steps that they provide on the right hand side here. So you can connect your Clarity to your GA4 account, so Google Analytics, and that just provides some more synchronization between the data there. Add other people to the team and do some IP blocking as well. So that means you don't see yourself in heat maps and screen recordings. So a few other things that you can set up in privacy and stuff like that. So Microsoft Clarity Heatmaps UI, there's a ton of things going on the screen. I think I've got it open somewhere in the tab here. So I just wanted to break this down before we jump into it quickly. So on the left hand side here, you've got filters and segments. So this is super powerful. It's a little bit advanced, so I'm going to leave it out of this video. Date range is an important thing. You want to make sure you're looking at a sample size of at least 14 to 30 days, at least, whenever you're looking at heat maps, depending on how much traffic you get. So this just makes sure that the data you're looking at is significant. Because let's say, for example, if you were running a sale for the last few days, and then you look at heat maps, people will probably behave slightly different to, looking at a wider span of time. This is down here is the page selector. This allows you to share the heat map, which is great. By the way, I would really recommend sharing this to people inside of your team, so other designers, developers, other people, so they get a hang of how websites work and what people click on, so they can use that as they're going on optimizing and other things in the future. The other thing here is to save the view of the segment. So this is, again, a little bit advanced in terms of filters, so I won't go into that too deeply. Then we've got view type here. So this allows you to change the type of heat map that you're looking at. You can change the device, you can change it to a click map, or a scroll map, or an attention map. I'll go into that inside of the demo soon. And then you can also close the sidebar. So this sidebar is also really helpful. I think I can just show you in this tab here. And it ranks the elements which are most popular on the screen. So the most click element on the screen, it ranks them, which is super, super useful to know. And then you've got this hotspot, as I mentioned earlier. So this is like a red circle or a red area where people are clicking on the most. So that's something you can use to do analysis. You can download the heat map if you want and share it with other people in your team, or compare it with another heat map, looking at some different filters perhaps. Again, a little bit advanced. And then you can also change the screenshot. Sometimes it'll bug out, or have a screenshot with a pop-up in it, which is kind of annoying. So you can change the screenshot if you need to. So how do you analyze heat maps? This is worth a whole video in itself. I made a post about this a few weeks or months ago on LinkedIn. So feel free to just DM me on LinkedIn and I'll shoot this over. But the premise is basically looking at things that are most clicked. Because obviously heat maps and clicks, and that's a really big part of it. Looking at navigation and ordering elements that are lists sort of thing is a good one. Scroll depth, so scroll maps show you how deep into a page people are scrolling, which is also really, really helpful. You want to be looking at scroll maps, and this is why when people say optimize the hero section or the first section on the page, there's a lot of weight behind that statement, because a lot of people barely ever scroll down past the hero section, right? So you want to make sure that top of the page is optimized, and content which needs to be seen more gets pushed towards the top, and a bunch of other things. But I will make another video on this in the future if you guys would like. Just comment down below, and then if you want this kind of resource, I'll send it in a PDF form. I'll send this over to you. Just shoot me a message. So let's go into Clarity and have a play around. So I'm inside of Clarity's demo. So Clarity themselves as a company made a demo for people to explore, which is pretty cool. So if you want to get access to this, it's very simple. You go to Google, type in Microsoft Clarity Live Demo, click on this link, and you'll end up where I am. So this is the first page you'll see in terms of Clarity. It's a dashboard of like performance stuff, kind of useful. If you click on recordings, it'll show you screen recordings. So this allows you to see how people are interacting with the website in a video form, which is really helpful. As I mentioned, it's more time consuming than looking at heat maps, but something I'd recommend. So in terms of heat maps, you'll click on this and it'll show you a list of different pages you can view. So in this case, we're going to click onto the home page. You can see we've got 30 days selected, so you can see how many page visits Microsoft Clarity gets in the last 30 days, which is insane. So yeah, once you click on that, and you'll end up in a page that looks something like this, right? If you're doing this for your own website, you probably won't have this amount of data. So if anything, let me see if I can shorten it down, see if we can get something a little bit more realistic. Somewhere around 14 days. And yeah, so this heat map will now generate, oh no, that's not good. Oh, Clarity, you've done yourself that. There we go, it's fine. So we've got the heat map that comes up and appears, and you can see places where people are clicking the most. Now on the website, they've got these two buttons for people to sign up and get started, which is really, really helpful to know, okay, cool, people are clicking on this button. And here they've got this kind of tab style section. So this section shows people I think the first one is on by default, but then you click on the other one and then it changes the information right below. So this is also helpful to see which ones people are clicking on the most. So you can see here, this one is 11th, this one here is 13th, this one here is 19th, and this one here is 24th. So if anything, people are clicking on this one most, because obviously this one is on by default, and then skipping through the others and then coming back to the first one from the seams of it. The other thing is, oh, by the way, this is in a different language, but they get so much website traffic, so that's why. If you just have a normal store, it's just going to show in the language that you normally have. So you can see here people clicking on images sparsely. This image isn't clickable, so this is good because people aren't clicking on it, but a lot of times people will click on an image thinking that it will lead to somewhere, and it doesn't. And you can see where people are clicking on CTAs. As we go further down the page, you'll notice less and less clicks. So compared to the hero section or the first section, which had a ton of clicks absolutely everywhere, as we come down to a section down here, you can see not as much love, mainly. And this is just, as I mentioned, in terms of scroll map. I'll show you this briefly. So in terms of scroll map, we can see 97-8% of people scroll down to about here. And as we get down to the section I mentioned, only 5% of people see this section, which is just insane, right? It's just so useful to know this metric and have this data in mind as you're building out sites. So you just put more and more emphasis on making sure this first section is really, 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 really good. And you can split test this section and make sure it's on point. Other things you can view, if we go back to this, is mobile view. So I think, yeah, there we go, mobile view. So you can see how this looks on mobile. So a lot of traffic will come on mobile devices, so you'll make sure people you're looking at mobile as you're analyzing. Really helpful as well. And let's see, other things I'll show you is filters. So I would recommend a few different filters. So one is, for example, country. So for me, I'll put somewhere like United Kingdom, United States if I'm looking at traffic. Other thing I would look at is either new sessions or returning users. So it depends on what I'm trying to find out from my heat map session. I'm going to look at people who are returning to the site or people who are first time on the site. If I'm looking at just mobile, I'll select this. And then there's also this filter down here for intention. I usually like to select this as high intention because it filters out people who came on the site and they have really no intention to purchase or learn anything or do anything. They just came on the site and they bounced within 30 seconds or less, or maybe even 15 seconds or less. So you want to filter out those people by selecting this intention high. You can do other things like pages, performance, but those are the main tags that I usually use, and I'll save them as a segment so I can come back to it later. I'll save those filters so I can come back to them later. So that's a brief tour through Clarity and how to use it. And in terms of doing more analysis on this, again, I'll make another video in the future, but you really just want to get like a page or a document and start taking some screenshots and taking some notes based on this data and what you learn from it, and then bring hypothesis or hypotheses out of this and start testing things and start learning more about customers. So I hope this was useful. I think that's everything I've got on here. So yeah, if you've got a question, drop a comment down below in this video. I'll personally reply. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. Hope this was useful.